What's going on, guys? So today I want to introduce you to 10 kickboxing concepts that will up your game. Now, for a lot of you guys that may be taking classes, attending some kind of MMA gym or Muay Thai class, kickboxing class, any of the above, you probably have already been learning basic defense, counters, combinations, but I feel like sometimes there's way too much of an emphasis on this plethora of combinations. I'm going to really get into the finer details of the concepts that will make you a much better striker. So let's get right into it. Normally, the way you set up basic combos is you throw a series of punches and you follow it with a kick. Okay, I'm sure a lot of you have seen that or experimented with that. Now, why does that work so well for beginners? Because basic boxing, when you throw a punch, you load your weight onto the opposite foot. By you loading your weight to the opposite foot, it gives the potential for power and loads the hip for the opposite side. So that's why that concept is so comfortable, to have a left-right cadence and follow kicks behind your punches. But to get into our first advanced concept, it's the idea that you should be able to not only set up kicks from your punches, but also set up punches from your kicks. You could lead off with a kick straight away, but I like to typically throw punches into kicks and then follow those kicks with punches. So for example, if I throw a jab, cross, into a switch kick, from that posture of landing my switch left kick to the body, I can fall into my cross here. Now when I fall into my cross here, I can throw a left hook and follow up another right low kick. If I, let's say, throw a right low kick, when I bring that foot back, I can spring into a left hook from there. So it looks something like this. I throw the right low kick, I bring the foot back, it loads the weight, and I throw the left hook. That way I can keep my combinations going when I throw the kicks. The kicks don't have to be the combination ender. You can also mix up the opposite side. So if I throw a left kick, I can land, then rip my left hook. Or if I throw a right kick, I can land, then throw my cross. So by implementing this one tactic of being able to punch off your kicks, you're actually able to keep these combinations nice and long for your bag work and also just be more versatile when you're sparring. A nice flow drill you could do is punches to kicks to punches to kicks. So I can go something like this. See how I'm seamlessly able to go from my punches to my kicks to more punches, to more kicks, and so forth. So now to move into our second concept, a lot of you guys need to start learning how to reload your hip to double up on the same side. Boxing basics, sometimes if you want to throw a double left, the first punch typically may be a throwaway punch. Same thing with throwing the right hand twice. That way, the punches have more of a rhythm of pop, pop, rather than pop, pop. The thing is, you have to actually try to learn how to get fast at reloading your hip if you want to be great at doubling up on the same side in kickboxing. So what I mean by that is instead of throwing two lefts where one is like a throwaway and the second has the power, you need to be able to throw, reload, and whip the next shot. Or if I could show you on my right side, I would throw, reload, rip my next shot. I'm not chaining them together. I'm actually throwing, reloading, and ripping. Throwing, reloading, and ripping. Let me demonstrate on the bag some examples. So I'm in front of this guy. I'm going to lead off with a jab. I'm going to reload the hip. And the way I do this is I'm actually taking my right side and I'm actually pushing it forward. So I'm not just pulling my left back. I'm having them work together like a ripping paper motion by pushing my right side forward. So left, switch, kick. Double up with the punches. I'd go left, reload, rip the left hook. Jab, reload, rip the left body shot. I'll show you on the right side. Right cross. I'm going to reload by throwing my left side forward, ripping the right body shot. Right cross, reload, right leg kick. Okay, so that's how you double up on the same side in order to break your own rhythm and sort of be able to lead off, anticipate some kind of counter, and then throw the same side again. Great way to break up the monotony of your combinations. All right, next way to break up these combinations. A lot of you guys do not use angles whatsoever when you're kickboxing. Now understand, when you're in front of a person, if you step in with a jab cross, or you lead off with a kick, That firing line that you're throwing from is the same firing line that they're going to look to counter you, okay? So if you intend to throw a jab, cross, left hook, cross, if you get countered in between those punches, let's say they counter you off the jab, those other punches never cease to exist. So what you got to understand is sometimes it's good to be able to use your jab to freeze an opponent, but then be able to come off on an angle to continue firing. I'm going to look to either go to my left side or to my right side. So that would be basically my opponent's left flank or his right flank. It's similar with the left hook. When I throw a left kick, I'm going to actually step on a deep 45 angle going to my right. So the jab crosses in that firing line, but I step out and I kick. A lot of times guys will kick straight up the middle under the guy's guard, and that kick is coming on an upward angle, so you're still in front of them, squared up. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to simulate how you step out with a baseball bat from the side. I'm doing that using my leg. So my head is no longer in that firing line. And after I land with this kick, I'm off on a 45-degree angle. If I wanted to throw a jab, cross, left hook, I throw that right kick. Now I'm on this 45-degree angle because I took myself out of the center line as the kick came across. Okay, so you can even get in the bag and practice that. Instead of just throwing your right kick and your left switch kick staying in front of it, you can angle off and angle off. Now, speaking of that pure boxing, a lot of you guys that train in striking, if you're doing Muay Thai or kickboxing, MMA, you may never get the time to really train those pure boxing combinations. Now, the reason you need that is because while most kickboxers, if they have a very punch to kick centric style, they may be throwing at like a 2-to-1 ratio, 3-to-1, maybe even 4-to-1 of punches to kicks. You still want to have the ability to certain instances in time be able to pop off boxing combinations in their purest form. The way to get good at that is really just to get in the mirror and train your boxing combinations. But instead of these basic jab, cross, left hook, jab, jab, cross type of combinations, you want to be able to do a few different things. You want to be able to double up on the same side like I was talking about. You want to be able to change levels, right? So I don't want to just be a headhunter. I want to maybe mix in the straights to the body, the jabs to the body hooks, okay? And then also too, you blend the idea of mixing in these uppercuts and body shots with the concept of doubling up on the same side, with the concept of going for the head and body until you just create absolute chaos. So instead of me doing some basic left, right, center combination to the head, it's like I'm going jab, cross to the body, left hook to the head, reload, left hook to the body, right? Double jab, right uppercut, reload, right hook, reload, left hook to the body. Just as some examples. Jab, reload, left hook, cross, reload, right uppercut, left hook, right cross, left uppercut, reload, left hook, right cross. You want to basically create chaos by mixing those things. Going to the head and the body, doubling up on the same side, right? Implementation of uppercuts and body shots, and then bring it all together for absolute chaos. Now just imagine if you could pop these combinations off on a guy and get him to shell up. If you follow up a low kick behind a 5-6 punch combination, the likelihood of you landing that low kick in some way, shape, or form, so much higher. All right, so the next thing you guys need to know to be a great striker, which pertains to boxing, is you need to have an intelligent left hand. And, you know, I'm saying this as a orthodox, but really it's the lead hand because, you know, a lot of you guys that maybe have some minimal experience with the striking stuff, you know how to throw a jab, you know how to throw a left hook, you know how to throw a left body shot and a left uppercut. But maybe you don't really ever probe, right? No one's ever explained to you that you don't have to just keep the left hand home and then throw it. You basically probe, which is you touch, you're measuring distance. Maybe you're drawing out a counter. You know, if you throw a nice single jab and bring it back, that's great. But a lot of times guys look to counter a single jab because there's nothing behind it. They try to capitalize on as that hand comes back to your face. Now they're coming at you. They time it, right? So you're touching, right? You're feinting. You can even feint with the right hand, but right now we're just talking about the left. I'm probing here, and what I'm doing is I'm touching the guard and I'm trying to stab the forehead because I want to fluster them. I don't want them to know that it's either I'm in my guard or I'm throwing. I'm in my guard, or I'm throwing. I want to be on this guy, right? I want to be able to sort of impose myself on him a little bit because I want to be able to throw my punches off these probes or like so, or I want to be able to draw him out so that I can then slip and counter, or draw him out so I can counter his punches with my kicks or any kind of counter to whatever he throws. But the bottom line is not everything has to be power. It's, you use your hand intelligently. You touch. You could touch the side of his guard. You could feint to the body. I'm in front of this guy. I step in with a nice stiff double jab. Bop, bop, okay? Now he's thinking about that. Now every time I feint, I got him thinking. So if I want to maybe set up a jab to the body, I can feint high, I can go low. If I get him thinking about that jab to the body, I can feint low and come high. So you need to be able to work, that lead hand style. You need to be able to probe, stab with the step jab, right? I'm stepping. Other times I'm probing from distance. Maybe I'm throwing a full punch from distance. Maybe I got a little more range than him, but you need to learn how to use that left hand intelligently to press the action on your opponent, draw out counters, and dictate the pace. Now, this brings us into our next topic. Aside from feinting with your lead hand, a lot of times if you're doing Muay Thai or kickboxing or MMA, your left leg can almost pose the same utility because if I'm here, right, let's say my weight isn't on my front leg all the time. I'm a little bit 50-50. It shouldn't be that hard for at any given time to just lift up that left leg, whether it's, a full power teep where I'm really scissoring and committing, or it's almost like a karate style front kick. I'm just lifting, hitting him right in the body. See how I'm just lifting, popping him. Or I could put a little more steam on it. But the bottom line is the leg is longer than the arm. So right here in distance, right? I can't touch him, he can't touch me. But I can make contact with my foot, or I can make contact with my left hand if I take a small step, okay? The same thing can be said about touching low. See, I'm not using my shin on that kick, but I'm sort of just touching with my instep. So those are my, what I like to call lead weapons from distance. I got my step jab, I got my teep kick, and I got that low kick, okay? And what happens is when I lead off with these weapons, it, like I said before, it gives them the opportunity to try to counter you. Only thing is, we're expecting them to counter. So what I'm doing is I'm using my lead weapons to probe them and draw out counters. And that's why you really just got to get good at utilizing those lead weapons to your advantage. So once you get good at using those lead weapons as a viable threat, we can fake them. So for example, I'm landing the jab. I can now fake the jab. So maybe, I fake the stepping jab. I send the right with my head off the center line. So instead of being here all the time, I'm here, okay? Maybe I'm landing this low left kick, right? I'm sort of switching and hopping into it. So I'm going to switch and then throw a right lead hook into a left low kick. Let me do that again slow. So I'm landing this. Boom, boom, okay? And then same thing with the left kick, the left teep. I'm landing with that left teep. So now, because I established it, anytime I lift it, he's looking down. So I'm lifting and I'm hitting him up here. And if I can land that jab, more things will follow. Okay? Fake that low left switch kick again. Land the jab. Fake the jab. Fake the jab again. Fake the teep, jab, low kick, right? I can blend them too. I'm stepping, jabbing. Whoop, pop, pop, pop. Right? Just a little display of how I use the lead weapons and then fake the lead weapons to follow up with combinations. All right, so now let's get into the really cool stuff. So a lot of times you see guys, right? If they have a certain in particular speed and power, everything they throw is at that same what you call cadence. They're very fast. It's very impressive. But for you on the receiving end, if you know instinctively they're throwing jab, cross, left hook, all you have to do is just parry, cover, cover, something you've trained a bunch of times in your training. The only difference is they're faster, but they're predictable. So the way to become less predictable is you have to sort of learn how to change your tempo, not only mid-fight, but maybe mid-combination. So for example, If I have a very nice jab, jab, cross, so I'm pop, pop, pop. If I throw that consecutively at my opponent, it gets to the point where he knows it's coming. He's going to fend off those jabs. He's going to slip, okay? You know, whichever way he slips. The thing is, for you to really set this guy up, you have to create doubt in his defense, okay? So sometimes, like a lot of guys will see Lomachenko on the bag. He's very famous for tapping it and then moving through the combination. And a lot of the best K1 kickboxers you guys can watch do this sort of thing. So I'm here, I'm tapping, double jab. I throw the low kick faster than the punches came. You know, people will try to counter you, but they won't always bite on everything you throw, right? So I'm here, tapping, throw the right hand. Because normally, if I were to lead off with a hard jab cross, this guy might defend in place to counter, but more than likely, when you come with that aggression, they're just going to pop out. We see this in MMA all the time, especially. Guys fight long, they pop out at the first sign of you trying to attack them. So what you need to do is you need to be able to sort of come in seemingly non-threatening because you don't want them popping out all the time or else you have to chase them down. So you're here, right? You're working those lead weapons like I talked about. You're moving your head. You're defending kicks, whatever it is. You move in on this guy. You're tapping him. You kind of creep in slowly, and then you rip your combination, okay? Another thing is, if I wanted to set up a really hard low kick, if I was going to have the intention of coming hard jab, hard right body shot, hard left body shot, reload, left hook to the head and right low kick. What's the problem with that? The problem is, it's not so much that you're doing too much, but it's like they're not going to stand there and take that. So you could almost take the hand portion of that combination, make it fast and subtle, then you rip the kick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch this guy up and then I'm going to go for it, right? So that's like an example of what I mean by you throw light and then you change the tempo and come fast. I'll show you one with just the hands. Jab, cross, left hook, jab, cross. If I put power on all of that, he's going to either counter me or move out. So I'm going to touch him up. And then I get a little bit faster mid-combination before he has a chance to run away. Now, even if you got the slickest combinations, you're probing, you're using angles, you're mixing up uppercuts, you're throwing in body shots, you're doing everything I've talked about, what's the one thing that could plague you? The one thing that could plague you, aside from still being a little bit predictable, is the fact that your opponent has your rhythm. And if your opponent has your rhythm, it doesn't always matter what you're throwing, because the difference between, let's say, defending a hook and defending a body shot and defending an uppercut, defending a jab, it's very subtle from their end. You know, if a guy shells up, he has good defense, it can be a little difficult breaking through that because at the end of the day, what really is the trajectory difference of a left body shot and a left uppercut? It's subtle, and a lot of boxers exploit guys, but sometimes, especially with the big gloves, it can be very hard to get through. So really what you need to be able to do is break the shit out of your own rhythm. And to break your rhythm, you have to kind of understand your own rhythm, okay? So let's say I'm very left-right centric. Jab, cross, left hook, right low kick, right? Basic Dutch style stuff I've been talking about. Right hand, left kick. You need to be able to send some punches and be able to reload that hip and whip the same side kick. I've kind of already talked about this in the video, but this is pertaining to breaking rhythm specifically. So if I'm going to go jab, cross, and then throw a right low kick, instead of me reloading that right hip all the way, I'm going to do like a bit of a half reload so the kick comes sooner. So instead of this, I'm going to use that half reload so it comes quicker. The same thing my left side. I'm going to pop off a left hook combination, do that half reload, and send the left low kick, okay? So I'm not going like this. I'm going like this. Okay? Same thing I could do with the double jab. Okay? Same thing I can do with the right kick to the body. That's the concept. You break your own rhythm. So now just imagine adding high volume to this, right? Instead of me coming 2 punches and a right low kick, imagine I was coming like this. High volume up top, break the rhythm, kicks. Or break the rhythm with your punches. Same other side. Okay, so you get the idea. You're breaking your rhythm. You're breaking that monotony. They're not able to track your rhythm while still being unpredictable. Now, for you guys that made it this far, I've thrown a lot at you, but we're going to keep going with 2 more things, okay? Now, one thing you don't necessarily need to be doing, but could be adding to your game is stance switching. Now, a lot of times when you think of stance switching as a beginner, if you're someone that's watched UFC, you know about certain guys like TJ Dillashaw that do it a lot, Corey Sandhagen. It's like a lot of guys think of stance switching as just switching in front of a guy, but I don't really like to do it that way because I don't see it used at the highest levels of kickboxing and Muay Thai in that way. A lot of times when you guys stance switch, it's much more subtle. Now, what do I mean by it's more subtle? Usually it's done mid-combination to basically be hidden from the opponent. So I'm in front of this guy, right? What I could do is I could switch on my jab, throw my right lead hook, and now I'm in southpaw to throw, let's say, like a left low kick. What I like to do better is I like to basically do a step back off of my left kick whenever I throw a left kick. Okay, so let's say I'm going to go jab cross, left kick. Now I'm in southpaw, composed as a southpaw. So what do I do next? I follow up with any combination that a southpaw would throw. But what you could do is, instead of throwing a combination, you could just throw one strike and land yourself back in orthodox. So an example of that would be jab cross, switch kick, draw back to southpaw, step in, you know, like with my left knee. Let me do that again. Jab cross, draw back to southpaw, left knee. Now I'm in orthodox again to keep going. But if you're someone that likes to throw the combinations from southpaw and keep that going, I can give you more examples of that. Jab cross, switch kick, draw back to southpaw, jab cross, left hook, left low kick, land in southpaw again, left cross. Okay, so for you guys that want to get really creative, you can take everything I've showed you previously, apply it to your southpaw stance once you're in southpaw. And of course, you can do that step back to southpaw off of the switch kick. You can do it off of the low left kick. Or in some cases, you could even teep and step back and then fire another long range technique. That's how you step back into southpaw. You can also step forward into southpaw off of a right side technique. So if I throw a right teep, I can land southpaw into a left cross, right hook, low kick, etc. What I can also do is I can throw a round kick, land with that left cross, mix up my shots. What I like to do personally is I like to do it off the right low kick. So before, right, jab, cross, left hook, right low kick, I'm landing in southpaw. Now I can rip my lead right hook. And the reason I don't throw the left personally is because I look at it in the application of it when I've done it, is that if you go throw this kick, you need to bring your head off that center line before ripping this right hook. A lot of times, if you throw a right kick, try to land into a left hand, the problem is they might throw down that same center line. So I'm throwing this kick. I don't want to get caught myself. What I want to look to do is kick, load weight onto that leg that's landing, rip that right shot, throw the left kick. Very subtle ways to switch to southpaw that I really like. Okay, so one concept that you guys should try to be practicing, which this isn't really a Muay Thai thing, it's less prevalent in Muay Thai, but more of a kickboxing, boxing thing, is throwing jabs and crosses with your head off the center line. Now, the reason this is important is because if you're going to lead off with, let's say, a jab, there's a very high likelihood they just counter you in that center line. So it's good to maybe bring your head off that center line as you jab. Then when you throw the cross, you can come back to the middle. And sometimes you maybe don't want to throw the head off the center line and throw the head off the center line because crossing that middle can be a little bit dangerous. It's more of you do it once and you throw the next punch with your opposite side glove up and you maybe anticipate something coming back at you, except because you got your head out initially, you should be safe, right? Another, like I said, thing I could do is throw my jab, throw my cross with my head off the center line. When you do this practice, it will just, you'll notice that you're getting hit a lot less, right? Because I can be here. If I'm head hunting, he's head hunting. If I get my head off the center line, I'm just going to get hit a lot less. So try that out. I'm sure it'll work for you. Now, the last concept I want to share with you guys, which all of you really should be practicing, is the idea that you want to respect their distance and you want to be able to get in safely and out safely, right? So before, I was talking about these long range techniques, how I have to almost take a step to hit him. It's the same thing with him to hit me. He's going to have to take a step or throw a longer range weapon, assuming we're both maintaining that same distance where we're slightly out of striking range. Now, the thing is, I talked about getting your head off the center line as you come in. I talked about faking and moving in. I talked about slowly creeping in subtly and then ripping combinations. But what about the exit? If I get in front of a guy and I rip my favorite combo, what happens now? I just move back, right? Well, the problem with that is that if you throw a combination and move back very passively, you're just going to get hit because this guy's looking to hit you as soon as you stop popping off your combinations. Now, sometimes if you're landing on a guy, you could stay in and smother. The thing is, if you're trying to be very in and out, you look to get in, you look to pop out, he's hitting you as you're coming out. So a very good method to do to exit safely is to try to exit on angles. So I'm here. I come in, I move out on an angle. Let me show you from this way. I'm here. I move out on an angle. So to show you from the front, instead of coming in, popping out, I'm coming in and I'm moving out on a 45-degree angle. Boom, exiting on a 45-degree angle. And another thing is for the guys that like to end their combinations with kicks, if my right foot is here and I throw a right kick, if I bring it back to where it was, I haven't exited any distance. What you could do is you can kick, draw the leg back further and slide yourself back, right? So instead of being here and staying, I can come in. Look how much more distance I gained by exiting, okay? So just something you can add to your game. Respect the distance, respect your entry safely, and respect your exit safely. And guys, that's basically it. We went over a lot, take notes on this stuff, go back to the portions that you liked. I'll put timestamps and, stay tuned for the next one. I'm going to be making lots of videos like this covering a lot of deep, detailed instructionals on boxing, kickboxing, and Muay Thai. So hope you liked the video. Share, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.